Once upon a time, there was an old man named George who lived alone in a small village. George was a kind and gentle man, but he was often lonely. His wife had passed away many years ago, and his children had moved away to the city. One day, a group of children from the village came to George's house to ask for his help. They wanted to build a treehouse in the nearby woods, but they needed someone to help them with the building. George was happy to help, and together they spent the whole day in the woods, building the treehouse. The next day, the children came back to George's house to thank him for his help. They brought him a plate of cookies that they had baked themselves, and they invited him to come and see the treehouse they had built. George was touched by the children's kindness, and he was delighted to see the treehouse they had built. It was a beautiful structure, with a rope ladder and a little balcony overlooking the woods. Over the following weeks, the children came to visit George every day. They would play board games with him, bring him fresh vegetables from their gardens, and tell him stories about their adventures in the woods. George had never felt so loved and appreciated, and he looked forward to their visits every day. As the summer turned to autumn, the children began to drift away. School had started, and their days were filled with homework and activities. George missed their visits, but he understood that they were growing up and had their own lives to lead. One day, as George was sitting on his porch, he heard a knock on the door. When he opened it, he saw the children from the village, all grown up now and with families of their own. "We wanted to thank you for all the kindness you showed us when we were children," said one of the women. "We wouldn't be the people we are today without you." And with that, the children presented George with a handmade quilt, stitched together from scraps of fabric from their childhood clothes. George was moved to tears by their gesture, and he knew that he would treasure the quilt for the rest of his life. From that day on, George was never lonely again. He knew that he had a special place in the hearts of the children he had helped, and that was all he needed to feel loved and appreciated.